I did not enjoy that. You did not enjoy that. Hopefully you'll enjoy this. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Sam Olber. Please support the show by following on your preferred audio platform, and you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are lifelong fans taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Swing for the fences on Sleeper picks, and you could win up to 100 times your money. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code Locked On, and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. I hope everybody is having a much better Tuesday than I had Monday. It was not a good day on Monday. It wasn't just the Cubs. It was an overall poor day on my end. It was my Monday was exactly like the Cubs game in regards to by about 8 a.m., I felt like it was going to be rough. And by about 7:15 Central Time, I felt like the Cubs game was over. Quick little anecdote before I talk about the ball game Monday night. I got home about 6 p.m. Pretty typical for me. Sometimes I get home. Sometimes I'm working from home. But 6 o'clock is usually a pretty regular end time for me. And I ate. I took a shower. And I was ready to watch the game about 7 o'clock. And I went to go turn on the game through the app, the Marquee app. That's how I watch the games. And it said something like, and I asked around, no one else had the issue, so I don't know what it was, but it was like configuration not supported or something wasn't working. So I was like, uh-oh, this seems like a problem. So I'm calling a couple different people, trying to figure out what it is. And as I'm doing that, the game is beginning. So I have the game cast up on my phone. So I'm following pitch by pitch, but I can't watch. And as I'm, not panicking, that's not the right word, but just think about it, right? I'm already upset. I didn't have the greatest day. Like everybody listening, the Cubs are my escape. So I'm still super psyched for the game. I can't even have it on. Then Yelich leads off with a homer. Then Dansby makes an error. Then Tellez gets a sac fly. And I promise on the show, as I figure out that I just had to go through a different browser to open the app, basically, as that happens, and I finally I'm at Wrigley, and there's Boog, I see Mark Canha's ball flying over the left field fence, and it's 4-0. So by the time I even got settled just to watch the game, it was done. And I'm sure a lot of people felt the same way. It felt like that at the ballpark, and it was frustrating. And there's a couple ways to look at it before I dive into the details. I'm not going to talk too much about the Brewers right now because I have something planned later for them. This team has been playing very meaningful baseball games since like mid-July, right? Because to even get here, to even get in the pennant race, they had to avoid a sell-off. And to avoid a sell-off, they had to win 8 straight games, which they did right before the trade deadline. Point I'm trying to make, I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but, there is a fatigue element there. And we talked about on Monday's show how 8-6 in this next 14 would be divine. 7-7 would be acceptable. And so, that implies you're going to lose games. So they lost Monday night. The pessimistic way to look at it is that this was one of those you didn't want to lose because on Tuesday night, you're facing Corbin Burns. And on Wednesday night, you're facing Brandon Woodruff. So now you're in that mode. I think we're all in the same boat. Now you just want to win one of these next 2. You want to just find a way to win one of these next 2 and get rid of these Brewers. And look, as far as the pathways to the playoffs go, you're 5 out now. And if you really want a realistic path to win the division, you probably have to win these next 2 games. And that's just a very tough ask against a team that's as hot as Milwaukee with those 2 guys going. But, I would advise you not to jump off, jump off the bandwagon quite yet. It was a frustrating loss, and it was just one of those losses that it was like going to the dentist. Like it was just so just eye rolling. You just wanted it to be over, right? You just wanted it to be over. There was never one point in the game where I felt like, the Cubs got a little bit of life here. Nah, not even after Wisdom's homer. It just didn't feel like that. And those happen, especially when you're facing a good team. So let's get into it. Jamison Tyone threw 5 really nice innings today. Unfortunately, the first one he threw was horrendous, and it cost the Cubs the game for the most part. He has to be better. Give him credit for at least eating 6 innings, but 4 runs in the top of the first in a game like this, it really takes the sails out of you. Took the sails out, I think, a little bit of the team, the fans at the park, and he has to be better. Yelich home run, Tellez sac fly, and then a 2-run homer by Mark Canha, and the pitch to Canha. And there were some errors mixed in, obviously, with Dansby and Nico, which, you have to give them a pass because they've been brilliant defensively all season. The pitch to Mark Canha was just atrocious. And at some point, Boog was saying, like, hey, maybe he's tipping. The Brewers are just hitting every ball hard. Maybe he's tipping. I like, or not Boog. Sorry, it was JD that said that. JD said maybe he's tipping, and I like JD. That was lazy. That was a lazy remark. He wasn't tipping. He was throwing pitches right down the middle. I was on the phone with my really close friend Nick, who was probably going to be on the show at some point this week, and we were just laughing as we were on the phone. Every pitch was a hanger, 1-2, hanger, 2-2. He was getting away with a lot of them too. So that was that. But for me, the most disappointing part of the game was the Cubs' effort against Wade Miley. I talked about it on Monday, and I felt good about it. I described it as the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object from the perspective of this. The Cubs love to take pitches and work deep counts. Wade Miley likes to get early swings and counts and just get early contact and throw strikes. Something had to give. My vision was, and my hope was, that the Cubs were going to frustrate him by spitting on a lot of borderline pitches, making him get into the zone. And when he has to get into the zone, into the heart of the plate, he gets hard. The ball gets hit a long way. See Patrick Wisdom and Ian Happ's home runs from Monday. That's not what happened. The Cubs were overly aggressive. They did him favors. They played right into his hands. The Cubs did not have a runner in scoring position all night. Outside of the 2 solo homers, there wasn't one at bat with a runner on second base. First time all season that's happened. And the Cubs have struggled versus lefties for the most part in the second half, but I really thought they were going to step up and hit Wade Miley Monday night, and it was just a very disappointing approach. Sometimes you have bad offensive games and you hit the ball hard. Like Monday night against Friday night against Mitch Keller, you hit the ball hard a little bit. He pitched well, but it wasn't as bad as the box score made it look. Tonight, the 2 runs the Cubs scored were deceiving. Their offensive approach was brutal, and they need to be better and try and work deeper counts. They've really been more aggressive lately as a team, which is fine. They had a really good series, 2 series on the road offensively, but it was disappointing. It was disappointing on Monday night. Drew Smiley came out of the pen, gave up a run. Quas was really good out of the bullpen. That was nice to see. And Wisdom hit a homer and a good matchup for him against Miley. Happ hit a righty homer, and that's really it. I mean, unfortunately, there's really not much more to get into. Now you're in damage control mode. You take a deep breath. This happens. Just 1-162. You're going to lose games like this. And you get back on the horse on Tuesday and try and beat a really good pitcher with your best pitcher on the mound. Justin Steele has not pitched great here recently. He did not have a great outing his last time out against Pittsburgh. So hopefully he could be at his best because we'll need it, and then the Cubs could manufacture some runs. The other negative part about Monday night's loss is they didn't even use Devin Williams. So you got a fresh Devin Williams, so you're going to see him one of the final 2 games regardless of the score. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but we knew that. We knew these games are tough. As I'm recording right now, the Giants lead the Reds, and the Dodgers lead the Diamondbacks. That's the key series for the Cubs. The Cubs need the Dodgers to win that series and then some. So that's good news. Hopefully those scores hold, and we could bounce back. But one of the reasons it's going to be very hard to bounce back is we're facing a team that has been a thorn in our side now for about 5 years, and they're an organization that I do not like, but they're an organization you have to respect because what they do on the margins and how they maximize their talent. We're going to talk in detail about them coming up next. But first, this episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Sleeper is a fantasy sports and real money gaming app focused on bringing people together through sports and gaming. Sleeper has become the fastest organically growing fantasy platform in the world, with over 5 million active users in 2022. At Sleeper, it's not just about sports. It's about building personal connections and lasting memories. Sleeper is now offering up to 100 times payout for up to 8 pick contests. Choose as many as 8 players that you like and pick more or less on your favorite baseball stats like home runs, strikeouts, hits, and more. Use promo code Locked On and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's use for details. Currently operational in over 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. The Cubs play the Brewers at 7:05 p.m. Central on Tuesday, and you can listen to every pitch with the Cubs' hometown broadcast on Sirius XM. On the SXM app, search Cubs or tune into channel 844 and catch the Cubs all season long on Sirius XM. We're back here on Locked On Cubs, and I know what you're thinking. I don't want to talk about the Brewers. Well, I don't either, but I do think that it is important to, because the Milwaukee Brewers are the only organization in the NL Central right now that I think is ahead of the Cubs. And you're probably asking yourself, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? I think the Cubs have really shown a lot this year under the leadership of Jed Hoyer and Carter Hawkins, with their pitching development in the minor leagues, their development of position players in the minor leagues, their ability to have flipped this whole thing and put together a competitive team quickly. I know the Reds and Pirates have very good farm systems as well, and the Cardinals historically have been the best organization in this division almost every year. But the Brewers are a problem. And I don't like the Brewers. And the reason I don't like the Brewers is twofold. Number one, they do some shady things. I don't like, they really try and cut corners. We know about some sign stuff and the scoreboard stuff. And, they're always working the umpires, and they just don't play a very fun brand of baseball. And the other part is it works. And that's the frustrating part. It works for them, and it's at the expense of the Cubs. And really, since 2018, when they came to Wrigley Field for game 163 and they beat us in the division, it just felt like they've had our number. They've made the playoffs after this year. It'll be, I think, 5 out of 6 years they've made the postseason. I think we got the best of them in 2020 in that short COVID year. But they're a team that just really feels like they understand how the game works. And some examples of that I just want to, highlight is, they went out and got William Contreras and Joel Payamps this year as the third team in the Sean Murphy deal with the A's and Braves. And they basically gave up nothing. And those are two of their most valuable guys. Those types of transactions for them, they traded Josh Hader last year, and it really hurt them for a little bit. They weren't the same team. Now they're fine. They're fine again. They're going to win 90-plus games, probably win this division. They have a great manager in Craig Counsell. It'll be interesting to see if he's back or not. They do have problems with Corbin Burns and his unhappiness, but the point I'm trying to make is this team's not going anywhere. They are very, very smart. They're very good. And the thing that bothers me the most about them, they're great at what we're not great at, and that's winning on the margins. Coming into Monday night's game, the Cubs had, I think it was a plus 79 run differential, and I think it was plus 16 for the Brewers. So the Cubs were like 60 runs better than the Brewers, and the Brewers are now 5 games ahead of the Cubs. And yes, there is a luck element to it, but the Brewers do it every single year, so you can't say it's luck. It's just something they're very good at. I mean, look at the guys that they're running out that they get a lot out of. I mean, this Monasario guy was a former Cub. He's a fixture in their lineup. They trade for Carlos Santana. Mark Canha. That Mark Canha move is a marginal move. That's not a move. Nobody highlighted that at the trade deadline, that they got Mark Canha, but it was something they liked about him, and here he is contributing in the middle of their order. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that I've seen a lot of people and gotten a lot of texts saying, Sam, this Brewers series isn't that important, right? It's really the series against the wild card teams that are a bigger deal because they're probably going to win this division. And I hear you on that. But for me, it's just kind of like in 2015 when we beat the Cardinals. Sometimes you just have to get through a certain team. And I feel like for the Cubs to eventually get where they want to go in the next couple of years, they need to overtake the Brewers and start running this division again. And it's hard. They're annoying. They're pesky. I mean, when they got swept in Los Angeles just about 10 days ago, I think it was less than that. Yeah, no, it was about, like 2 weeks ago. I was like, all right, well, this is what I thought was going to happen. They're going to get swept in LA, lose 2 out of 3 to Texas, split with Minnesota, win 2 out of 3 against San Diego, and they'll be here. And they have, after they got swept, they have won 9 in a row. And, I don't want to tip my cap to them because I don't like them very much, but, they're a problem. And they've been a problem for a while. And it's just, it's something we have to get through. So, even though I don't think, the division now is going to be hard, it's just really important for us to figure out a way to start winning more games. It's not like it's been a disaster this year. I think the Cubs are they went 1-2, then they split 3-4. So they're 3-5 in the 8 games they've played against them. That's not, it's not like it's 1-7, but it just feels like, and maybe I'm wrong because I really don't like Milwaukee, but it just feels like that they have our number and have just have some answers to the tests that we don't have. And I felt that about a lot of teams heading into this year, but the Cubs have really answered a lot of questions with Jed Hoyer at the helm. I just think the Brewers are the last leg the Cubs got to conquer because they are a very solid small market organization that just gets a lot of their guys. For the Cubs here, as we close out, for the Cubs to really start to get hot again, I think they're going to need some guys that, are kind of unsung heroes or guys that aren't on people's radar to come in and contribute. And we're going to talk about that next. We're back here on Locked On Cubs, coming off a snore fest of a loss on Monday night to the Milwaukee Brewers. And Keegan Thompson on Sunday made his return to the Cubs. I neglected to mention that in Monday's episode, but a lot of people reached out to me and would like me to discuss it, so I am going to. For those that don't remember, Keegan Thompson was not only expected to be a part of the Cubs bullpen in 2023, but he was expected to be an integral part, a key part to the bullpen. And it went south very quickly. He was on the mound for one of the worst losses of the year in Houston, and then we have not seen him since. Keegan Thompson came back on Sunday through 2 scoreless innings against the Pirates in a very low leverage situation. And we'll see what happens with Keegan. I thought for that outing, the stuff looked good, but I really don't take much, into account when you pitch with, up 8 or 9 or down 8 or 9 runs. It just doesn't matter. It's just easy. Anything in life is easier to do when there's no pressure on you. Would it be awesome if Keegan Thompson, was able to be a contributor? Yeah, especially with Michael Fulmer out. They need him. It'll be very interesting to see how Ross uses him and to see that, does he get a high leverage situation with 1 or 2 more good outings? And can he handle that and pitch well again? Because those type of things are the Cubs are going to need to get through this really tough stretch. You only have 1 day off, and that's Thursday, then a doubleheader Friday. You're going to need some people to step up that you don't expect much from. Mike Tauchman was the guy that did it for a while. He's in a little bit of a funk now. Keegan Thompson's back. Maybe it'll be Palencia. And then we talked about, obviously, on Monday's show, the potential of PCA coming up. And could he be a guy that gives them a jolt? I just feel like right now it's a little bit of a, not a slog or like a dead period, but they need a little bit of juice because outside of Bellinger and Hap's been hitting better. We've highlighted Suzuki. Dansby's. I called out Dansby a little bit. On Monday, thought he'd have a big game, big series. He still might. He went 1 for 4 with an infield hit, made an error. Those guys are going to have to hit soon, or somebody's going to have to pick them up, and step up. So, Morel's been in a funk for a bit, and, you never know. You never know who it's going to be or where it's going to come from. The one thing I feel like with Dansby is that he's not a guy you want to just just because he's struggling now, he could hit 2 homers tomorrow. He's very random. So I'm not looking at, because a lot of people are like, hey, they should bench him for a day. No, they shouldn't. Just that's not the answer. They need his defense out there despite his mistake on Monday. He's just one of those guys. He's a weird hitter. I've been saying it all year. He's a weird guy to follow. He's a weird hitter. Sometimes it looks like he doesn't have a clue. I'll never forget. Remember, he had a 5-hit game, or was it a 4 or 5-hit game, like in the 5th inning against the Mariners in April. And then he had those cramps in his side. And then I went to the next game he played in LA on Friday, and he went 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts or 5 strikeouts. I mean, it was like, what is going on? He's a very weird hitter. So hopefully, he'll get hot soon, and the Cubs will get rolling. But yeah, Keegan Thompson, good stuff. See what happens with PCA. The bullpen right now, a lot of people are worried about it. You look at it, Alzolay has thrown, he threw 4 pitches on Saturday. He didn't pitch on Friday. He didn't pitch on Sunday. He didn't pitch on Monday, so he's fresh. Merriweather and Leiter didn't pitch Sunday or Monday, so those guys should be fresh now. And, Kwas had a nice outing on Monday. We'll see what happens with Keegan. Palencia seems to be earning more trust. So the bullpen seems to be in okay shape right now. Just got to hit, and hope Justin Steele is at his best on Tuesday. So I hope everybody's having a great Tuesday. I hope next time I talk to you, we're live, coming off a very big Cubs win on Tuesday night. I really only want to go live with wins. It just seems like that's what people want, unless it's like a loss that feels like it needs immediate coverage. But, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's a better day on Tuesday. One loss, not the end of the world. Shout out to the everydayers who are with us all 5 episodes throughout the week, and you can become an everydayer by checking us out each and every weekday. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for Locked On Cubs on YouTube and smash the like button for the algorithm. We're also on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts and streaming on SiriusXM. I am Sam Olber, and this is Locked On Cubs.